Hi, I'm Greg Woodson. I'm the RTP coordinator and kind of office administrator for the fire department.
All right, so everyone here visiting us, you may have interacted with Greg or Kelly on the FAR email inbox if you send some messages in. Those two are usually answering most of those questions. And so the plan today is we're here to help you, and but we did want to start with some general information. And there's been a few changes to the evaluation system that are going into effect just now this semester for the very first time. So that's because the policy changed and was signed by the campus president in December. So we're putting it into effect for the first time. And so I'm going to begin by reviewing some of the information that has changed and just giving a general overview of the process of the evaluation and just orienting you a little bit to our website so you can see where you would want to go. And just right off the bat, our website is a good place to go and get general information. We have forms and documents and tutorials and all sorts of things on there. Most of it is on or linked to our page for part-time lectures, which I'm putting into the chat right now. And I'm going to be reviewing that page before we start our question and answers or to help you with your questions. So there are other sections of the website as well, but this is where you're going to find most of the information that you need. And I'm going to go ahead and shift over to that page. So give me a second to share my screen. All right. So I've kind of edited the size of the screen to make it a little bit more readable for all of you. And what I want to show here is our part-time lecture evaluations page. Most of this also applies to full-time lecturers. If we do have a page for full-time lecturers, but the information is almost identical to this one. So you can get a lot out of this, even if you're a full-time lecturer. We do also have a page for range elevation, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking, but if I have time, I'll mention that, or if it comes up in our discussion, then we can go to that. But if you're doing a range elevation application, most of that is very similar to a normal evaluation. There's only really one difference on that. So a lot of what's on here also applies to range elevation. Okay, so if you go to this page, you can, at the top, we have our Interfolio login button. So that's a quick and easy way to get to Interfolio. If you're here, hopefully you have gone to Interfolio and at least logged in to see that you have a case there. There's some situations where you may see more than one case. For example, if you're being evaluated for your teaching performance, but you're also going up for range elevation, then you'll see two cases in there right now. Or if you're teaching in multiple departments and you're being evaluated in those different departments, you'll also see multiple cases in there. So let me just kind of go through. I'm going to point out the highlights. And then when we get to the end of my talking, then we'll just open the floor up for you to ask questions. So as I mentioned, Interfolio is the system we're going to use for all the evaluations. It allows us to keep all of your documents in one place, and it allows for easy access by the evaluators so that they can look at your documents and they can add their own evaluations and then pass off your case to the next level. So uh, as you go through for your putting together your files, many of you will have to put together something called the summary of assigned duties. And I have a note here. We have a note here that the summary of assigned duties can be somewhat automatically generated by using our instructions. So it's a mix of using another tool in Interfolio, which you should all have access to, called Faculty 360, and using Microsoft Copilot, which is one of the campus AI products that has been put out. So these instructions are here for you. If you use these instructions to build that, then it should work and you should fulfill that requirement. But I'm going to come back to that too. we put this in big bold here because this was one of the tools we want everybody to see and to be able to use. Okay, so let me get into some of the details here. Uh, there's actually multiple kinds of evaluations, and there's a new one this year called an abbreviated review. I'm going to start by talking about the regular review. So if you've been teaching here for a while, you know you've had an annual review before. There are 13 categories of review, and though that kind of review is now called a comprehensive review. So the name's changed a little bit. It's you could have an annual comprehensive, you could have a 3-year comprehensive, but comprehensive means it's just like the old style of review, and it's going to have all 13 categories. The we also have an abbreviated review this cycle. So many of you are on abbreviated review. We have about 500 plus teachers who are going to get an abbreviated review. That only has 6 categories. So abbreviated really means that it's about half the size, maybe even less, of a full comprehensive case, and it's really designed to make life easier for you. So you have to put together less material, but you still get reviewed sufficiently so that you can get reappointed if you need to be. Uh, I don't have it on here, but for range elevation, if you're applying, you're going to have an extra category. So you'll have the 13, like a regular comprehensive review, but you'll also have a 14th category, which is development as a professor or teacher, where you talk about your changes that you've made to your teaching performance over the last 5 or 6 years. Um, Most of you will be getting just the standard review for instructors. Some of you are working in programs that maybe don't have teaching requirements, but you're doing other types of work. So if you're working for as a counselor or in a CAPS program, we have materials on this webpage for you. The number of categories is almost the same. They're still annual, they're still comprehensive. A lot of it is the same, but we have slightly different forms, and I'll show you where those are when we get to the bottom of the page. If you're working for the library, the same thing. You probably aren't having a teaching assignment. You're doing other tasks, but you're still going to be evaluated in the same way as the instructors are going to be evaluated. You'll just have forms that are just designed just for librarians. So we have those on this page as well. So the big thing now, as I've already said, is that we have a new kind of evaluation. So in total, there's 4 different types of evaluation where I'm wiggling the cursor here. If you're in your 6th year of teaching, then you're going to get a 6-year comprehensive evaluation. So remember that comprehensive means you're going to be reviewed on all 13 of the categories. Um, and you're going to be reviewed for that whole time period. So you'll have to put in information related to the whole 6 years. Some of you will be either getting your very first, some of you will be renewing your 3-year contract. That's called a year 3 of 3 periodic evaluation. And we actually have 2 versions of that. Most of you will be getting an abbreviated periodic evaluation. So maybe the last time you got your 3-year contract renewed, you had to do a comprehensive evaluation with 13 categories. Now, for most of you, you'd just be submitting information on 6 different categories. Our standard is abbreviated. That's going to be the normal. In some cases, if the dean or department chair or even you request, then you'll have to do a comprehensive, and you'll get evaluated in all 13 of the categories. We have the same 2 types also for your annual evaluations. Many of you will have, this time I said 500 plus of you have abbreviated annual evaluations, so much shorter than any evaluation you did in the past. But some of you will still have a comprehensive, and I'm going to show you in a second the difference. It depends on what year you are in terms of your teaching. And then some of you will be eligible for range elevation. We've already built range elevation cases for all those people who are eligible. And those, as I said, are in your Interfolio when you log in. So if you're going up for range elevation and you're not being evaluated for your teaching for any other reason, then we have this standalone range elevation. You'll just see the one case in your file. If you're going up for a 6-year comprehensive or a year 3 of 3, then you're gonna get a combination case, or what I call a combo case. You're going to submit one portfolio, and it's going to be evaluated both for your range elevation and for either your 6-year comprehensive or your year 3 of 3 evaluation. So you're still going to get multiple evaluations, but you're only going to have to put together one file, and that's a big improvement over the past, when you had to put together two files to be eligible for range elevation. So really, one of the major goals of this combo file is to encourage more of you to apply for range elevation when you're eligible. Really don't have a high percentage of people applying who are eligible, and we really want to encourage people to do that. So we're trying to make it easier for you to submit that application. It has a very high success rate, and you get a minimum 5% raise. So you want to take advantage of that if you can. As I said before, we have a separate page for range elevation, so you're going to want to check that out if you're up for that. So I'm going to finish reviewing this page, and then we're going to open it up for your questions. We have some tips for preparing your WPAF. So your WPAF is the file that you submit for review. It stands for Working Personnel Action File, which is the lingo from the union contract that you're all obliged to follow, as we are. But it just means your file or your portfolio. So you submit a WPAF every year for your first 6 years. And then after that, you get 3-year contracts if everything goes successfully. And then, if you're doing well, you only get evaluated every 3 years. But we recommend you gather and organize all of your documents. It says PDFs here. When you upload them to Interfolio, no matter what form it's in, Interfolio is going to convert it to a PDF. So if you upload a JPEG, it's going to convert it to a PDF when it uploads it. You don't have to do it. You're going to want to name your documents in a way that makes it easy for your reviewers to find them. So and probably that'll come up during our Q&A. If you're doing a comprehensive review, then you're going to have to create a table of contents. So that's just a document that guides the reviewers so that when they're reading your narrative, they can find the documents that you're referring to very easily. If you're doing an abbreviated review, uh, you don't need to do a table of contents. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. The If you get stuck on things, you can always ask FAR, but you can also ask your department chair, any mentors you have here at Fullerton, senior faculty in your department, maybe other part-time instructors or full-time and temporary instructors who've been here for longer than you for advice or for feedback on what you're putting together. They all will have really good tips for what you can do and what works. All right, as I said, we have different types of reviews. So we have a 6-year comprehensive review. And if you're doing that, then we have this table that shows kind of what kinds of material you're going to want to put in there and how far it goes back. So if you're doing the 6-year comprehensive, it's going to be due on February 17th. We didn't put it on here, but it's end of business day, so 5 p.m. You're going to put in material that goes back to fall 2019 because you're going to be reviewed for that whole time period in order to get your first 3-year contract. It's described a little bit more down here below. If you're getting evaluated for your 3 of 3 evaluation, the due date is the same, February 17th. You're going to be putting material in there from fall 2022 to the deadline, the submission deadline. So a little bit different, what we call period of review. And if you're doing an annual periodic evaluation, most of you've already done it. You're going to be, it doesn't look right. Oh, here we go. I'm in the spring. In the spring cycle, you're going to be going back to spring 2024 for your material. If this is your very first annual review, you're going to be just going back to last semester and putting material in. So that's that tells you how far back you need to go on putting together your information. And then there's more detail on this, and you can take a look at that if you have more questions. At the bottom of this page, we tried to put in as much helpful material as we can. We have a link to the document, the policy document that lists all the procedures, so you can look at the fine print and see exactly what's in there. It does have descriptions of all the 13 categories and even the 14th category if you're doing a range elevation. More on that in a second. It has, for some of you, your departments will have their own separate standards for review. So you need to check this link out and see if your department has that. This is also uploaded into your Interfolio case already. When you go in there, you should see this document if your department has one. Less than half of the campus departments have it, but you might be one, so double check. And if it does have a document, you're going to have to follow what it says in there in addition to what I'm telling you today. We have a table that shows some of the details I already showed you, the review periods, how much information you put in. We have instructions on getting GPAs from your department if you need to do that for your materials. We have instructions on getting your SOQ reports and your grades. It's trying to let everybody in here. Then we have instructions, as I already mentioned, on creating your summary of assigned duties, which is a required part of your file. And then this year we created something called the lecturer handbook. And the lecture handbook has pretty much all these things. It's really just a compilation of most of these documents all in one place. Okay. So you want to take a look at that. I'm going to go through the next column. We have templates and forms for you. If you're putting together a comprehensive evaluation, you're going to need to do a table of contents. We have a template for that. Again, the table of contents is just you put all the documents you've put into your file and you organize them in a way that helps the reviewers. After you receive the initial evaluation, you'll be able to do a rebuttal if you choose to the evaluation. So we have the form for that. You'll also get a message from the system telling you that you can submit a rebuttal if you want to. We have similar information for the table of contents for librarian faculty and for counselor faculty on here as well. Almost done here, just getting through this page. We have a bunch of tutorials. We actually have one giant tutorial and we broke it into different sections here. So you can jump into where you're getting stuck. If you're getting stuck and you can't reach us, like if it's after hours on the weekend, you can come and click into one of these here. And then we have something new this cycle as well. We have what we call files organizers. And this is just a suggestion. I personally recommend it, but it's optional for you. When you're gathering all of your materials to create your portfolio, this is a place where you can organize them. And so what the files organizer has in it is it's a whole set of folders and subfolders where you can put all the information that's going to go into your portfolio before you upload it into the system. And you can change the file names, you can organize it, you can move it from one spot to another, you can number them, rename them, do whatever you want to all of it on your local machine or in your Dropbox so that it all looks perfect in the way you want it. You could even share that with your peers if you want to get feedback. And then when you're ready to submit it, then you can then go and upload it into Interfolio, and you can upload it easily because you can upload it category by category in batches to get all the files in there. So it's designed to make life a little easier for you than in the past. And what you do is you go find your type. So for example, if you're doing an annual comprehensive review, you would click on this link and it'll download a compressed file to your machine and you decompress it. It's very easy to do, right click or double click on it. And then it'll expand into all of the subfolders which represent the categories that you're going to be using. We have it for librarians, we have it for counselor faculty, and we have one for range elevations if you're doing that, as well as range elevations for library and counselor faculty as well. So that's our main page for part-time faculty. But as I said before, use it for range elevation, use it for full-time lecturers, because most of the information is exactly the same. So I know you have a lot of questions. I just wanted to do that little introduction so that you could kind of see what's going on. And then normally what we do during this open lab is we spend most of the time answering your questions. And all three of us are here. Each of us can answer slightly different questions. So we'll decide when we hear your question who's going to answer, and and then we'll work on it from then. If we can't solve it now or resolve it now, we'll write it down and we'll discuss it. The three of us will discuss it later, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. We also have another open lab tomorrow, and we have Kelly and I have been holding office hours, and all that information about when these things are going to happen. If I go back to my shared screen, it's on our event resources page. So there, if you click on that, we have our calendar, and we have different events coming up, and then we also respond to emails. Uh, Usually, we prefer emails because then it allows us to kind of triage them in terms of what's urgent and which ones we can get to a little bit later. And so we can try and help the people who have urgent issues as quickly as possible. But you're also welcome to call or even to stop by if you're in the neighborhood. So I'm going to stop talking there, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So I'm going to stop the recording as well.